Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this conversation today. Whether you're watching live or catching the replay, I am so grateful that you took a moment to be here with me. Today's conversation is specifically for entrepreneurs and business owners who are building something that is meaningful and something that they want to be long term. This is for the entrepreneur or business owner who may feel like they're being pulled in too many directions, that perhaps they could use a little bit more discipline or clarify their vision just a little bit, but also because there are so many things that are competing for their attention in this particular season. So, my topic today is all about focus, what strengthens our focus, what weakens our focus, and really how to protect the work you're called to build without guilt or pressure. So, this conversation is really about how do you do what matters, being completely clear on what that is, and being so focused on what your intention is. And so, one of the most valuable assets you have as a person is focus. Because in reality, whatever you give your attention to will grow. Whatever that is, wherever you put your attention, that thing will grow. And whatever consistently pulls your attention away will weaken what you are trying to build. As entrepreneurs, we are surrounded by noise all of the time. There are new ideas, new trends, new strategies, new platforms, new ways to show up. And some of them are good, some of them are good intention, some of them are not good. And they're not necessarily for you for the season that you're in. Now, I want to share this quick story with you because once worked with a coaching client who was brilliant. I mean, brilliant. And every time we met, she had a new idea. It was a new program, a new pivot, a new angle, something that felt exciting and promising. And on the surface, it looked like creativity. But underneath it, there was a lack of focus that was quietly costing her momentum. This client would start something with passion and energy and then vision. But for some reason, there would be a point where the work required patience and repetition. She would discover a new idea and convince herself that this new idea was the better one. And this is all before the first idea had an opportunity to take root. She was already down another rabbit hole, redesigning her brand, rewriting her offer, reworking her message, redefining programs, creating new programs. But what I realized as her coach is that she did not recognize that she wasn't failing because her ideas were bad. She was really struggling because she never stayed long enough for one idea to become sustained, for one idea to come to fruition, for one idea to truly grow. And businesses don't grow from constant movement. That's why it's said that I don't know if you've ever seen this success, the cost of success, and what people think it is, and you see the tip of the iceberg, but under the sea, you see this long, 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 long icicle because it takes consistency. It takes the same repeated habits over and over and over again for it to stick. It requires us to honor this purpose that we have long enough for it to really mature in actuality. And so, what many people may look at and say, oh, it's an overnight success, those people took years upon years upon years upon years to build. We only know them when they're successful, but their build happened before they were actually successful. And so, once I worked with her and helped her to sit still with her work, to resist the urge to chase every new thought, and to commit to what was already started, her business began to grow. Now, that breakthrough didn't come from a new idea. It came from her consistency of doing the same thing over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, that's how we become experts. It is said to take 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert at something. So if we're jumping from here, there, everywhere, how do we really stick to it so that we are labeled as expert? So maturity in business requires you to know what deserves your energy. And one of the most important ways or most common ways entrepreneurs lose energy is by spreading themselves too thin in the name of progress. As a matter of fact, I was having a conversation with one of my team members today, and I said to her, I was like, girl, something has to give. I said, listen, as the leader of this organization, there are times when I can pop in to support the administrative roles. But if I am constantly in administration, I can't lead because my focus now is on to do every day to do tasks where my focus should be on driving the vision. And so we can't spread ourselves too thin. We have to be okay stepping away from the fray to lead, to guide, and to build. Now, when we are everywhere doing everything, we can't believe that we're growing. But are we really growing? Because depth is what creates stability. And that's depth in our relationships, depth in the service that we give, depth and consistency. Businesses can only last or are built to last when people stay committed long enough for trust to take root. Even when, that's how some of the richest people in the world got rich. They stuck with stocks when everybody else was letting the market frighten them into selling. They stayed consistent and it paid off. So consistency means that we're trusting enough, that we're staying still long enough for our business to grow. Another area where entrepreneurs are slipping is in constant learning without execution. I know of people who will learn something new. They will get degree after degree. They will go to seminar after seminar. They will get all the new information, and that is great because we need to grow. We evolve. We can't stay the same. However, the value in that development is by doing something with the information that we're because there is a point where we get to information overload and information no longer serves you. So my rule of thumb is 2 to 3 development courses a year, and throughout the year I go back to those things. I look over the manuals, I look back over the notes, I start to implement. There was a time when I worked for Lisa Nichols, and with working with Lisa Nichols, one of the things that Lisa shared with me, and when I asked her in one of our coaching sessions, I said, Lisa, how come you tell everybody like exactly what your secret to success is? And Lisa said to me, she said, DeQuesta, because 95% of the people will not do what it takes. They'll get the information and do nothing. And in that session with Lisa, I made a commitment to myself. And that commitment was that I would not get information and not execute on it because it has no value if it's just sitting in a book, if it's just sitting in my notes and it's not executed. At that point, that just becomes a distraction from implementation. Growth happens when knowledge meets action. Man, that's so sweet. I got to say that again. Growth happens when knowledge meets action. And clarity happens when you stop searching for the next answer and start working with the answers you already have. I can guarantee you already have the answer. When I work with my clients, that's the one thing I say to them. I am your guide, but you have the answer. My job is to pull the answer from you. Sometimes we're not clear on what that answer is, and that's when we need our guides. But outside of that, you have to realize that what you need is already inside of you. Now, I want to also, before I close, speak to the emotional side of entrepreneurship because business is just never business. We bring ourselves to work. We bring our hopes, our dreams, our desires, our longing to be seen, to be valued, to be supported, to be loved. We bring all of that with us. When I teach my leadership class, especially the new supervisor training, one of the things I teach in that class is that This thing about people leaving their personal life to the door is just a dream, right? You can't leave it to the door. It's attached to you. So, as a leader, our job is to help them manage whatever it is that they're going through and reframe their minds. That's why those daily huddles or those weekly huddles are so important, so that we could refocus people to business so they're not overwhelmed by their personal life. But I didn't come to teach on that today, but I'm sharing that because as people, we have many sides. We have our business, emotional, spiritual, physical. There are many sides to us, and they're all rolled up into our one physical being. And so, emotionally, there are some entrepreneurs who are distracted because they're chasing validation. They are looking for other people to say, hey, you did well, or yes, do that, or to confirm something that they already know. They are chasing, they are looking for somebody else to say that they're valuable when God has already established their value. Because before you were born, God knew you intimately. He loved you. He loved you enough for you to come to earth to fulfill a purpose. And that purpose that he gave you already has value. So you are already valuable, and there's no one needed to validate the value that you've had. Yes, I know. I know you're going to say, well, Dukwasa, I've had so many experiences in my life, and those experiences have broken me. We've all been there. With all, every single human being on this earth has had experiences that have caused them to question self, or had traumatic experience that have broken their self-esteem, their self-worth, have caused them not to believe in their dreams anymore. Absolutely. We've all had those experiences. As an entrepreneur, though, specifically, we are responsible for healing that so that it doesn't spill into our business. So when you are building a business and then you are also craving emotional fulfillment, you're causing that energy to flow into your relationships. You're causing that energy to flow into your employees, into your business. And it's easy to come preoccupied with whether someone is choosing you or not, or preoccupied about whether you and how that person spoke to you, or that person may say words to you like, oh, you weren't nice, or and you're questioning yourself because you're not so sure about your footing as an individual, who you are, what your values are, what your integrity is. So that has to be built from the inside out, so that when you're out there, you're not on this emotional roller coaster because people are calling you all these different names that you are choosing to answer. Because once you are grounded in who you are, it doesn't matter what they say. I am the last I do not care person, because I am so grounded in who I am as an individual. I know how I treat people. I know how I show up. I know what my values are, and our values could clash, and I will still respect you. So it is important for us to not become so preoccupied with whether someone else is choosing us, whether someone else is going to cheer for us or affirm us or show up for us, because that's not important. You keep showing up for you, and your destiny helpers will also show up for you. They will see you at work, and they will come to support you. Don't chase them. Let them see you at work so self assured that they want to be aligned with you. Now, I'll tell you a story about another client who, in our conversations, she kept talking about why she couldn't understand why her business seemed to stall at critical moments. And the more she and I talked, the more it became clear to me that that derailment wasn't strategic. It was actually emotional. And here's why. Her romantic relationship consumed far more energy than she even realized. Her partner knew her emotional triggers so well, especially her fear of abandonment. Every disagreement they had sent her into a spiral. She would overanalyze what he said. She would reread his text messages. She would replay conversations in her head. And sometimes that caused her to shut down emotionally for days at a time. And during those times when she shut down, her work really suffered. Deadlines passed, decisions stalled, Her confidence was just wishy-washy because it was dependent on whether he stayed with her or not. And deep down, one of the things that she actually believed was that in order for her to be loved, she had to work for it. So she didn't believe that love was given. She thought love was earned. She believed that if she worked harder, she gave more, and she continued to prove herself, that she would finally be chosen. And that belief did not just shape her relationship, it shaped how she showed up in business. She was constantly performing, overextending, seeking validation instead of leading with clarity, with self trust, and with a vision that she had already clarified and crafted. Now, her work as we progressed through our coaching relationship was not just about time management or productivity, which is what she thought. It was really about healing, that inner healing, healing the belief that love must be earned through sacrifice. And once she started to recognize her patterns and separate her emotional triggers from her professional responsibilities, sweetie, the game changed. Her focus returned. Her confidence strengthened. Her business stopped paying the price for her unhealed wounds. If you are an entrepreneur, I want you, if you take nothing else from this conversation, take from this conversation that you have to be so self assured that you have built, even if you've rebuilt your brand, even if you've made mistakes in the past and you've rebuilt your character, know what that is. Know what your virtues, your values, know how you show up and show up with intention. Do when I interact with people, how do I want them to see me? How do I want them to leave the conversation feeling? When I interact with people, what are the values that I want them to see? I want them to see that I'm personable, kind, that I have integrity. Like write those down and then begin to live that and show up as the healed version of you. It doesn't matter what other people have spoken over you. I am a prime example of being told that I would never amount to anything, from my family members, from my teachers at school, from church members. All sorts of people said those things to me because there was a season in my life when I was young in my teenage years where I struggled with the death of my great grandmother and I spiraled out of control. That was a season when I made bad decisions and I lived up to what people said. But once I rebuilt my life, I made a decision about who I want to be moving forward as a person. And that person shows up in my personal relationships, in my business relationships, in any relationship, because who we are is who we are. And in reality, life is all about seasons. There's a season to love, there's a season for companionship, and there's also a season when your assignment requires your full presence. When love becomes a distraction instead of support, it is often because it is not aligned, not reciprocal, and it's not rooted in peace. Now, why would you want that? Anything that consistently pulls you out of your center deserves to be evaluated and, if necessary, discarded. Your work deserves a focused version of you. I am getting so emotional as I share this with you because you deserve your dreams. You deserve the success that you desire. And your work deserves a version of you that can bring that to fruition. And the right relationships will never, whether they're platonic, whether they're romantic, the right relationship will never compete with what you are building. It will complement it. Your relationship should complement your purpose. And then there's the thing, sometimes distractions are not loud, they're very subtle at times. It could be exhaustion that doesn't make sense, it could be busyness without really moving forward. There's no momentum, but you're just busy. What are you busy doing if you're not moving forward? It could show up like you're doing a lot, but you're not moving anywhere. That is a distraction. Busyness is a distraction. And so before you say yes to anything, ask yourself some questions. One, does this support the direction I'm going in? Two, does this require energy that I do not have right now? Three, will this matter a year from now? And if the answer is no, then this might just not be the season for that. Perhaps in another season. And a no doesn't mean never. It's right now, that's not possible. So align yourself, sis and bro. Okay. Honor your capacity. You are capable. You have what it takes. So protect what you're building so that it can mature, so that it can grow, so that it can sustain you. But you have to heal. And if you are in a season right now where you feel like you're being pulled in many different directions, I want to remind you, like a friend reminded me yesterday, that you are allowed to choose simplicity. You are allowed to choose what makes you happy. You're allowed to choose clarity. You're allowed to choose depth over noise. You are allowed to choose what is right for you, and you have to choose to do that. The most impactful entrepreneurs I know are not the busiest ones. They are the most intentional ones. They know when to say yes. They know when to pause. They know when to protect their focus so that they can build a business that truly lasts. Now, if this message resonated with you at all, sit with it. If need be, listen to it once, twice, three times and let it settle. Take from it what you need and ask yourself, where is my attention going? And if where it's going reflects what you say you want to build. Your focus is so powerful that I admonish you to guard it with your life. Now, I look forward to hearing from you. Maybe you can just drop beneath this conversation what part of this resonated most with you. I wish you all the best as you build your business, and I'll be back again with another conversation focused on helping you build your dreams. Take care.